Hey everybody, what's happening? Brent Axe here from Syracuse.com with you live here on the Syracuse Orange Basketball Facebook page. And we're coming off the heels of a Syracuse win. They take down the Pitt Panthers here in snowy Syracuse, New York. 74-63 was the final score at the Carrier Dome. We're here thanks to our friends at Crouse Health. So those of you that are joining live, appreciate you being here on this, depending where you are. Some of you are certainly getting ready to snow shovel and snow blow and all sorts of digging out here with a snowstorm coming through here in Syracuse. It's just starting to arrive as I look outside my window here, but some of you are in warmer places without the snow. So wherever you're watching today, appreciate you joining us live. We do put this up, thanks to our friends at Crouse Health. We do put this up on YouTube as well. If you want to watch it on your time later, we put it up on the Syracuse Orange Sports page on YouTube, and you can find it in my recap on Syracuse.com. But if you are here live, what's up, Brian? What's up, Dean? Good to see you guys jumping in here. Brian saying the sun's out in Rochester after a Syracuse win. It is today for sure. If you are joining us live, hit that like and share button, or the love button too. We love the love button. Let people know that we're chatting with you here on this Saturday afternoon. So Tyus Battle comes out today after a 32-point performance against Duke on Monday night, has 22 points in this game for Syracuse. He started off slow, didn't score in the first few minutes of the game, but really got it going, finished 9 of 17 overall, 3 of 7 from three-point range. He has 22 points on the day, and big story for Syracuse, Buddy Boeheim with a career-high 13 points in this game. He was 4 of 5 from three-point range, just exactly what you need from Buddy. Even a bonus shot or two there from him. Also for the Orange, Oshae Brissett, struggled around the rim again, didn't have his best offensive day, but he was terrific on the defensive end. 3 block shots, really made a difference there. Grabbed 5 rebounds for Syracuse as well, dished out 4 assists. So it wasn't really scoring the way you need him to in terms of hitting those easy shots around the basket, but made up for it in a lot of ways. Really loved how Marek Dolezaj played today. A typical Marek box score, 4 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals. He made some great passes to Tyus Battle in this game. He was looking more like Eric Dungy than Marek Dolezaj in this game, making some great throws in the red zone. He played terrific for the Orange. Pascal Chukwu got the start again for Syracuse. Marek looking good after taking that collision from Zion Williamson, but Boeheim going back to his traditional starting lineup, and Pascal with 6 points and 11 rebounds. So Pascal now, in his last 2 games, he has 18 rebounds against Duke. He has 11 in this game. He's really killing it on the boards the last couple of games. Frank Howard struggled on the offensive end, 2 of 9 today, did have 10 points and dished out 5 assists. Little surprise from a standpoint of Elijah Hughes has been one of Syracuse's more consistent scorers. Didn't really have it going today, just 3 of 7 for Elijah. Did have a big 3, did have a big play to start the second half, a nice dunk in this game, but not as traditional a point. So I think that, if my math is correct, I think that's the first time in 9 games he has not scored at least 14 points, but, you cut him a break there. I'll tell you what, Pitt lost this game, but I really like what Jeff Capel's doing at Pittsburgh. He brought in Xavier Johnson, brought in Trey McGowens. That Pitt team played hard to the end. I think he's got that thing going in the right direction. And remember, Syracuse gets this Pitt team in just a couple of weeks at the Peterson Event Center, which once again is becoming a really tough place to play. So Pitt's going to remember this one, and they're going to be ready to go for the Orange in a couple of weeks. But, bottom line, Syracuse starts off 4-1 in ACC play. And I was very curious. I'm sure you guys were curious too. Which Syracuse team were we going to get today? Because a week ago today, we were sitting here chatting after Syracuse lost to Georgia Tech and went 7 of 33 from three-point range. And then, of course, they turn around 2 days later, have that just incredible win over Duke on Big Monday. And even some looked at that and said, well, Duke didn't have Trey Jones. They didn't have Cam Reddish. They really weren't themselves. But what impressed me about this game was it was different style. Syracuse was playing, it's a typical Syracuse Pitt game in a lot of ways. 74-63 is actually very high scoring for a Syracuse Pitt game, that they're typically in the 60s, sometimes in the high 50s. And, it was a game of runs. There was a number of runs in this game, 10-0, 12-2. Syracuse at one point went on a 22-4 run. They were really impressive defensively in this game. A big stat that Syracuse really took advantage here is Pitt turned the ball over. I'll just pull it up while we're talking about it here. 17 turnovers for Pitt on the day. And Syracuse scored 26 points off those turnovers. You'll recall they had a lot of points off turnovers against Georgia Tech as well and couldn't cash it in, obviously. Syracuse shot the ball much better today overall, 25 of 54. That's 46%. They were 50% just under from the three-point line. And I'm going to narrow that down a little bit because Syracuse was terrific in the second half of this game. They shot 58% in the second half, 14 of 24, including 6 of 14 from three-point range. So that's the difference. That was the middle ground team we got. I was kind of wondering, Georgia Tech is one extreme, Duke is the other. What's the middle ground team? Well, we saw it today. Really solid defensive effort, taking advantage of points off turnovers. O'Shea not being able to score, but distributing the ball, playing great defense. Marek Dolezaj with great passing out there. Tyus Battle takes over again after a slow start and some questionable officiating in this game. I mean, I feel like we say this a lot this year, unfortunately, but the officiating in this game also just 4 or 5 calls that really make you scratch your head. At one point, really, in the first half, and I've got to give Tyus a lot of credit for kind of settling down and harnessing this energy into playing the game because he was arguing with refs. He was yapping at the refs and at the Pitt players. And I think the refs held it against him. There were some really bad calls in this game, a couple of them involving Tyus Battle. But in the second half, he just really harnessed that and played really well. And it was that separation. It was that defense. It was that 22-4 run that Syracuse had in the second half. And they held Pitt to just 2 points in the first 5 minutes and 57 seconds of the second half of this game. That was part of a 12-0 run for Syracuse. So solid win all around, and they got some confidence back where they need some confidence back, and that's at the Carrier Dome. This is the season where Syracuse has lost back-to-back non-conference games for the first time ever in the history of that building. Bad taste in their mouth, losing to Georgia Tech at home. All of Syracuse's best games have been on the road this season. The win at Ohio State, the win at Notre Dame, certainly the win Monday at Duke. So, you got to feel good if you're a Syracuse fan that they got a good one at home. They actually get, a few days off here. You don't usually get these big gaps in ACC play, but when you get them, you got to take advantage of them. And Syracuse won't play again until Thursday at the Carrier Dome against Miami. But after that, we're really going to start to see the ACC settle in because Syracuse will go on the road for 3 straight games. And that includes a trip to Virginia Tech, who has been a top 10 team at times this year. We mentioned Pitt is going to be back on the schedule in just a couple of weeks. So as Jim Boeheim told the players after the team, it's an easy thing to say. It's something you hear a coach mutter often when you play in this league. You'll get no easy games in this league. And that was certainly the case. Syracuse controlled this game. They were up by 14, 15 points at times in the second half. One thing that they got away with in this game, but you'd hope does not become a trend. And if you know me and you follow me on social media, hashtag free throws matter. Ooh, shudder to see this. Syracuse at the free throw line today, 12 of 23, 52%. Can't leave that many points on the board. Again, you kind of get away with it in a game like this when you shot better and put a little bit of a gap in between, took advantage of the turnovers that Pitt provided for you. But you don't want to see that becoming a habit. And I wanted to go back to turnovers because Syracuse had 14 in this game, and a few of those came late, but that continues a trend that you don't want to see an uptick on for Syracuse. So coming into this game, they had averaged 16 turnovers in their last 3 games. They were at 14 there. You want to see that number come down. And again, for a while it was down. They were in single digits in turnovers until really the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game. So, a few piled up at the end when Pitt was desperate and trying to get some things going. They had a couple of steals out of timeouts and got some good plays going there. But the turnover trend's got to come down for the Orange. So those are 2 of the negatives. A lot of people were wondering about Jalen Carey as well, and Jim Boeheim noted at the press conference afterwards that it was a matchup thing. This is how Pitt plays basketball. You couldn't really risk all the turnovers there. That happens sometimes. Remember, Pascal Chukwu sat out against Clemson just a few games ago because sometimes you just need to do that. You just need to sit a player down, let him collect his thoughts, and matchups are always big. And it worked today because Buddy Boeheim was on his game. And I want to mention that he really went over what you need Buddy Boeheim to do with 4 3-pointers. I mean, that's big right there. He had 13 points overall, which is a career high for Buddy. I think that's what you're looking for. If you could kind of bottle this up, that's a snapshot of what you need Buddy Boeheim to do for you. Come in, play some solid minutes. And let's see, he played a total today. I think he certainly played more minutes than usual in this game. 19 minutes for Buddy Boeheim against Pitt today. But that's what you need him to do. Come in, get some open shots at 2 or 3 3-pointers, and you're good, right? And the other things will come. Ball distribution, getting shots, pump fake from the 3-point line, get inside, and some of the things that Buddy can do as a player. Today was a real snapshot of if you can get that from Buddy Boeheim, especially with Jalen Carey off, especially with O'Shea not scoring at the level you need him to inside, and Elijah Hughes was down on the scoring end as well. Perfect. That's exactly what you need. And, Pitt was kind of going after the big guns for Syracuse. I mean, Tyus ended up with 22, so he snuck away, but you held O'Shea to 11. You held Elijah Hughes to 8 points. Frank Howard struggled on the offensive end, so you needed somebody to pick up the slack a little bit, and Buddy Boeheim was there to do that. So people have been really critical of Buddy throughout the season, people in this chat, people on Sports Talk Radio, wherever the case may be. But and some of that's been warranted, by the way. Buddy's had some games where he should not have been in there, frankly. But today he took advantage of his minutes, and Boeheim, the dad this time, Jim Boeheim, saying at the press conference that there were even a few possessions where he was open and Syracuse really should have worked it to him, saying it a lot of great practices this week shooting the ball as well. So we'll see how that balances out, but that certainly looks like it could be an asset for Syracuse going forward in ACC play if you can bring a player like that off the bench and see if he can get you 2 or 3 3-pointers a game. That's all you really need from Buddy Boeheim at this point. We're talking about this game, and you guys are in the comments, and I want to respond to a few of you, but just keep in mind that a big recruiting announcement comes tomorrow night. So Syracuse has been recruiting Isaiah Stewart. He's one of the top recruits in the country at his position, really at any position. He's a player from Rochester, right up the road from Syracuse. I believe he's playing at prep school now in Indiana, but this kid would be a major get for the Orange. And what's already a pretty stacked class of 2019, they've got Joe Girard, the third, coming in, the sharpshooter from Glens Falls, Bryson Goodine, John Bolajock, big man project, who was nominated for the McDonald's game recently, and Quincy Guerrier, who is a prospect from Canada, who a lot of people are kind of comparing to O'Shea Brissett, kind of the same pipeline that he came to Syracuse with. Isaiah Stewart is somebody who, you look at Syracuse now, they don't really have that dominant paint presence in terms of an offensive center, an offensive big man. And Pascal had 11 rebounds today, had a couple of offensive plays, but they're limited there. They're limited in a big man that can move, athletic, can attack the rim, offensive rebounds. My colleague here at Syracuse.com, Donna DeTota, has seen Isaiah play a couple times, has written a few things about him, calls him a rebounding machine. He'd be a big get for Syracuse, but all the big guns are on him. Duke, Kentucky, Michigan State, Syracuse, and our old friend Mike Hopkins in Washington on that list as well. So they're going to announce, I believe tomorrow, he's going to announce at halftime of a Oak Hill IMG game, I believe I saw on ESPN. So we're all going to be watching football tomorrow, right? Seeing what the Super Bowl is going to be. I had Rams Chiefs, by the way, as my Super Bowl pick at the start of the season. So we'll see what it is after tomorrow's game. It's probably going to be Patriots Saints now. I made it all the way with my prediction, and then, it'll fall apart on Championship Sunday. But keep that in mind while you're watching football tomorrow. Big recruiting announcement coming from the Orange. All right, let's react to some of your comments here. You guys have been doing a great job talking amongst yourselves. Javen, my man, saying, Brent, a few things. O'Shea needs a lot of work. He can't even dribble. Can you imagine Girard and Buddy lighting it up next year? Yeah, I can imagine that. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch because Syracuse is going to have quite a few options from the three-point line next year. As for O'Shea, man, he's right there. He's getting inside. He certainly has the athleticism to do it. His dribble does need work. He does have to get stronger. And I know that Boeheim's frustrated with that. At least today he made up for it in other ways, playing great defense, making some plays, had, 4 assists in this game, as we mentioned. But he's got to finish those baskets because Syracuse, when it comes to inside presence, when it comes to guys that can get in the paint, it's really him and Tyus. Elijah can do it sometimes. Frank can do it sometimes. Jalen Carey has shown the ability to do it, but obviously didn't play today and, was really going to have to work for his minutes as a freshman going down the stretch. Syracuse's main offensive threat inside is O'Shea Brissett, and they need him to finish those around the basket. And he's really been struggling to do that. So hopefully that comes around as Syracuse gets going here into ACC play. Nice little record right now at 4-1, but we all know how quickly the ACC can turn against you. But Syracuse had to take advantage of this early part of the schedule, and for the most part, they've certainly done that. And you hate to have a loss to Georgia Tech on that list, but everybody's got a loss. I don't want to say a bad loss, but everybody's got losses in the ACC. That Duke loses to Syracuse and Florida State loses to Pitt, and the list goes on and on. Syracuse lost to Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech lost to Virginia. This league eats us young, and you just got to survive and try and win 10, 11 games and hope the committee calls your name at the end of the season, right? Brian saying that Dole is the glue man. That box score from today, we went over it earlier. That's what he gives Syracuse game in and game out. Good to see him out there today. I'm sure Marek Dolezaj had a lot of Advil this week after that collision with Zion Williamson on Monday night. And, that guy's a warrior. He'll go out there and play like that. And some of those passes, if you guys watched the game, you saw some of those passes he made to Tyus Battle. Just precision. Inside passes, boom. Sometimes Tyus was wide open and he got him the ball right on his hands and up, but through the defense. And, Marek's always been a good passer. That's one asset he's had really since he started getting some serious playing time at Syracuse, and he really showed that off in particular with Tyus Battle today. Really like watching his game against Pittsburgh today. John saying Virginia is unbeaten. They are. And remember, they went through ACC play. If I'm not mistaken, did they lose an ACC game last year? If not, it wasn't many. And then they lost became the first number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament to lose to a 16 seed. Doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Virginia's top team in this league, that pack line defense, they're right back where they need to be. Tony Bennett, what a job he's doing there at Virginia. They have become, one of the best teams in not only the ACC, but in college basketball, period, one of the more consistent teams. And they're going to be pretty ticked off and pretty motivated to make up for the fact that they became the first number 1 seed to lose in the tournament last year. Claude saying to be a presence inside, you need to make layups. O'Shea can't make layups. I can't disagree with that. He's really got to do it. And, he was 4 of 11 today, and there was about 3 or 4 shots in this game where he kind of gets in the paint. And what's happening is he's pulling up too early. So he'll pull up a little too early, too far away from the basket. He's kind of stretching at the hoop. Just get closer. Just take another dribble, power inside, use your athleticism, and kiss that baby off the glass. Or dunk, or get there. Get to the rim. You can do it. He's just pulling up too early, figuring he's got to take that inside shot. But he doesn't really have much of an inside jump shot. He's got a great jump shot once you start getting away from the paint. He can't hit the 3, but he's Syracuse's best threat inside. He's shown he can do it before. He just hasn't been doing it consistently, but he's really going to need to through ACC play. Syracuse needs it. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Where's all the snow? It's coming. It's coming. Can't wait for it, by the way. And I know some people are like, wow, how could you say that? Just bought a new snowblower. Thank you, Santa Claus. I'm ready, man. Bring it. 2 feet of snow. Let's fire that baby up. I'm ready to use that thing. But how about that? Speaking of 2 feet of snow on the way. Now, here in Syracuse right now, it's snowing. The roads are slick, but certainly drivable, certainly manageable at this point. So going to the game today, you really weren't at risk. The weather was manageable to go. But still, knowing 2 feet of snow is coming and everything that comes with that, you got to get ready, batten down the hatches and everything. 24,000 plus. Go to the Carrier Dome to see that game. Largest crowd in college basketball this year. Hey, Syracuse fans, rolls off their back. They handle these things like it's another day, man. They weren't scared away by a big storm. I would encourage you to read a story that's up on Syracuse.com now, by the way. My colleague Donna Ditota mentioned or wrote a great story, I should say, about how Pete Sala, who manages the Dome, handles the Dome through a snowstorm because, when they renovate the Dome fully, it's not going to be the bubble roof anymore. So this will be a much easier task for them. But now managing that thing, making sure the weight of the snow doesn't collapsing, and just how they get up on the roof with these hoses and make sure the roof is okay. It is quite a job that Pete Sala and his crew do. And they're the best at anybody doing it. They're one of the few left doing it because of, there's not a lot of bubble domes left in the country, and we're not going to have it anymore here in Syracuse in a few years. But a shout out to those guys because they're going to be working long hours. And shout out to all those snowplow drivers and everybody that's out there battling the snow and making it like, like 24 hours from now, it's going to be like it never happened because we know how to handle it up here. But 18 to 24 inches, even for Syracuse. Let's just say Wegmans was pretty busy yesterday when I went there to get my bread and milk. Got to make French toast during a snowstorm. It's tradition, right? Jamie saying, Syracuse fan in Ohio, and I'm proud of this team, was worried early as they looked like they weren't playing together. Now they seem to be playing more as a team. I agree with you, Jamie. And look, Frank Howard didn't shoot well today. He did have a 3, and he, slowly but surely is looking like he's playing more confidently. But Jim Boeheim mentioned this at his press conference, and I think he made a good point. Now Syracuse is getting to the point where Frank can run the show, and you don't have to rely on other players to pick up the slack and do it for him. So that frees up Tyus Battle to attack the basket, to be an offensive presence. It frees up other players to do what they do when Frank's running the show, because for a while they had to pick slack. He wasn't confident. He was still injured, and there was just a lot happening there. But we're seemingly finally at the point where we're watching a team that it has their point guard back. He's running the team, and players can focus on what they do best. Slowly but surely, things do look like they're coming together for the Orange. Garth brings this up. Does Dino get royalties for whose house? Dino Babers and the football team honored at halftime. They celebrated their Camping World Bowl win, and the hype man came out. Dino got the crowd fired up for another football season to come here at Syracuse. I know it's January. We're not thinking about Syracuse football. We're thinking about NFL football, of course, with the AFC and NFC championship games and the Super Bowl approaching here. But Dino never fails to get that crowd going, that whose house chant, You can't lose with that in a Syracuse basketball game, right? Oh, thank you very much. There's the link. Is that my man George who put that link in there? There it is. We were talking about that Pete Sala story that Donna wrote, and there it is for you. It showed up in the comments here in this thread, in this chat, so you can go read that. And it's a great piece and a great look at how Syracuse basketball, just plows through, and how the Carrier Dome crew plows through, even with a big snowstorm on the way. So what do you say we end there for today? Thank you for joining us as always. I'm going to get ready to go shovel and do some snow blowing and write the recap, which I hope you read on Syracuse.com tomorrow. Speaking of Donna and Mike and Chris Carlson and the crew, Dennis Nett, our great photographer, will have great coverage for you coming throughout the afternoon and tomorrow with my recap to come. Thanks to you for hanging out with us. Thanks to our friends at Krause Health for presenting this live chat. Hope you get through the snowstorm okay. If you are in the line of the storm, just have plenty of French toast ready to go, and you'll be fine, right? So thanks for joining us here today for this live chat. Again, reminder, we do put it on YouTube if you want to watch it on your time. We'll be back with you Thursday night. Syracuse gets a few days off here, but they'll be back at it Thursday night against Miami at the Carrier Dome. That's an 8 o'clock tip time, and we'll be with you after that game right here on Facebook Live. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll talk to you again next time here on the Syracuse.com Facebook Live chat presented by Krause Health.